Hello everyone and welcome back to another Figurehead Reviews video. And today we are finally going to assemble the Sugarman Build-A-Figure. And in order to do so, you will need to collect the figures that you see before you here. So we have Jean Grey coming with the head and torso, X-Man coming with one set of arms, Sunfire with another set, Wild Child with the back piece, Weapon X coming with a leg, Morph with the other leg, and then finally Dark Beast with the hammer. But enough about that, let's get this assembled and take a look at Sugarman. And here is Sugarman fully assembled, and what a weird and grotesque character this is. And kudos to Hasbro because I think they did a really fantastic job with this Build-A-Figure, all things considered. I mean, how do you take somebody who is 90% face and 9% arms, and then the rest of them is these stubby little legs and this grotesque back, and how do you turn that into an action figure? And Hasbro figured it out. He's not that top heavy. Actually, I'm not having trouble really standing him up on them stubby little feet, or stubby little legs. His feet are actually pretty good size to support the character, so that's good. But yeah, he is just a wild, wild figure. Now, Sugarman does have one accessory, which is going to be his hammer. We do see the word sugar written on it. We get a little bit of marbling throughout, but otherwise, it works and it serves its purpose. Now, when standing straight up, Sugarman is coming in at about 6 3/4 inches tall, which makes him about 17.2 centimeters, but I will admit it was kind of tricky measuring him, so he might be a little bit closer to that 7-inch mark. But since he doesn't come with any other accessories, let's just jump in here and take a look at the paint and sculpt detail here on Sugarman. And getting up close here on Sugarman, which, I really don't want to, but man, this is one creepy, ugly, and like I said, grotesque figure. And Hasbro did a great job really bringing out just some of that creepiness. You get some good shading there around the eyes. You have these sculpted in warts and things like that throughout his face. We get some more shading around the mouth. The paint around the mouth on his teeth looks really good. I mean, look at even the texturing on the tongue, like the back of his throat even, you can see all the way back in there. Oh, man, really well done. The eyebrows are going to be a separate piece, which is nice because you don't have to worry about whether or not the paint was aligned, so that is good. And then the hair, of course, is a separate piece as well, as the hair has been for a lot of figures lately. But you'll notice that mine did not go down all the way. You can kind of see where the hair piece is sticking up a little bit right here, but thankfully that's not really that noticeable. The horns, however, are painted, and thankfully they are painted well, so that's good. You can see just at the base the paint did stop, but not noticeable. You won't see that from a distance. But yeah, this thing is just, ugh. And like I said, Hasbro really did a fantastic job with it. Looking across the rest of the figure, so we got some buttons here, some pretty basic looks to them. I honestly didn't pull up the comic images to see what the buttons were before, but those serve their purpose. The arms, we get the sculpted detail of what appears to be hairy arms, but we don't get any kind of paint on them. So that is something that I guess I don't know how it would have looked. I mean, that's a lot of hair, so it might have come out looking kind of weird. So the first hand we have is this pointer finger, and the only thing I don't know is it's kind of bending upwards quite a ways, so I don't know if it's actually supposed to be straighter. You could probably heat it up and straighten it out if you wanted to, but I noticed we don't get any paint on the fingernails, so that is a little bit of a disappointment. We do have this piece here, though, on his wrist, which is a separate part, but we do get the paint on that. So that looks good. And then the second arm that we have on this side, so the arms are going to be the same, but then looking at the hand, so we got a fisted hand here with all the rings, and it looks like Hasbro, at least on mine, forgot to paint a ring. If you have this one, let me know. Is that something that was just missed on my piece, or is that something that was missed on all of them? But again, we don't get any kind of paint on the fingernails, which obviously if we're not going to get it on one, we're not going to get it on any. But we get the same little wrist strap there again. And then jumping over to the other side, you're going to have the gripping hand for his hammer. And the hammer does fit into that just fine without any issues. And then you're going to have this open gesture hand, which could potentially be a gripping hand for somebody's throat or something like that. So that looks good there too. Looking on the back side, so this is a separate piece that you have to put on, and the downside with that is you do get this seam running all the way up through the shoulders and around and all that. But looking at that back, like you can see some little bit of shaded detail there just to imply the hairy back, but we can see the sculpted detail of that with a low-cut tank top there. Looks really, really good. And I didn't mention when we were looking at the hammer, he does have this loop here on his belt, which looks like it should accommodate for the hammer if you wanted to put it in there. But I was having a heck of a time getting it to fit, so I don't think I'm going to mess with that. Plus, it kind of, I don't know, it looks like it's just going to get in the way if I try to put it in there. So I think I'll have him holding the hammer. The buckles and everything on the belt came out looking good too, just to point those out. And then he's got his stubby little legs, which they serve their purpose, but you don't get a lot of articulation out of them. But, I mean, like I said, Hasbro really did a good job of getting us this figure. Now, the downside is the articulation on him is pretty limited. So on any of the arms, of course, you have full rotation, and then you can move the shoulders in and out. You have a bicep swivel on all the arms. You have double jointed elbows, and then you do have rotation and hinges. You, of course, don't get any kind of head articulation unless you want to count the waist rotation that he has as the head articulation. So I think what would have really been cool is if he didn't have full red eyes, since the face comes off with relative ease. Of course, I say that. But since the face comes off with relative ease, if they would have had something like the little switch mechanism in the back to move the eyes looking left or right, that would have been really cool so that if you did have the waist rotated, you could still have the eyes kind of turned. That would have taken this figure just one notch higher in terms of the articulation. And actually, real quick, let me take this back off because I didn't notice this really. We get some good shading around the head, too, that is somewhat obscured when you put it on. But that is a really cool attention to detail just to give us that shadowing effect throughout the figure. Oh, man, throughout the face, rather, as it goes around. So I didn't even really notice that until I took that off. That's really cool. Articulation on the legs, though. Legs do not come apart really at all. They kind of kick forward. They kind of not really kick backwards. You do have a thigh cut, a single jointed knee that does not get much room to move at all, with a rotation at the knee. And then he does have a hinge. Man, this one's really tight though. But he does have a hinge though with ankle pivot. But you got to kind of mostly keep him like straight up. Otherwise, he is top heavy and he is going to fall down. And that does it for this video, everyone. And overall, this has certainly become the most unique Build-A-Figure in my collection, I'd say. Just disgusting looking creature, and really well done by Hasbro, though. I think they did a great job with the materials that they had in terms of the design and stuff. I think they knocked it out of the park with this guy. Certainly, getting the Age of Apocalypse figures was really cool, and they could have just as easily redone Apocalypse as the Build-A-Figure for this line, but I really appreciate that Hasbro gave us the Deluxe Apocalypse and then gave us this guy for the Build-A-Figure, thus giving us two really good villains and some good Deluxe-style villains, too. So I do appreciate that. I hope they do some more Age of Apocalypse figures because it would be nice to kind of have a whole segment for that. So I look forward to that possibility. But anyway, I think this guy is worth having, mostly if you do the Age of Apocalypse setup, but I still think he's worth having just for the uniqueness of it. But anyway, as I said, that is it for this video. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you like it. Subscribe for more content just like this. And as always, thanks for watching my video, and have a great day.